Welcome, good evening, everybody, to the monthly council meeting of December 18th, 2023. We first have our planning board meeting, and then we'll move into our regular monthly meeting. We'll begin, welcome folks here who are joining us and those that are joining us online. Begin with the planning board. Planning board consists of councillors Morrison, Snow, and Duran. I will call the planning board meeting to order here at 6:02 p.m. Call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented from one of the members of planning board. Councillor Snow, second. Councillor Duran, all in favor of the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will proceed as before us. We begin each one of our meetings by acknowledging that the land upon which we gather is the unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abbotsford is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. Any member of planning board or any member of council will have a conflict of interest declaration with respect to any of the items on the agenda this evening. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, and this is where I pass it over to the chair of planning board, Councillor Duran. Councillor?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The item tonight is for 591 Reed Drive, an official plan and zoning amendment application. This will be the second of 3 meetings, I guess, concerning this property. We previously heard from, I think, just the applicant at the last meeting. There was no, and a couple of neighbors. The purpose of the official plan and zoning amendment is to allow a town or row house and or apartment development. Background, an application was received from 102454 PEI Inc. for a portion of PID number 756825 to amend the City of Summerside official plan from commercial land use to residential land use, and to amend the city zoning bylaw from service commercial C2 zone to high-density residential R4 zone. Purpose of the zoning amendment is to allow high-density housing, i.e. row house, townhouse, apartment building, in the proposed R4 zone. A public meeting was held on December 5th, 2023, and council gave first reading on the same date. The report. Under section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, when planning board reviews a zoning bylaw amendment, it has to consider the following general criteria as applicable. Under section 8.4 of the Parks and Green Space Plan, the criteria of B, C, E, G, and H must be considered. So A, conformity with all requirements of this bylaw. Staff comment, the proposed development can or will conform to the R4 development standards. When row or townhousing is proposed in the R4 zone, the R3 standards apply. B, conformity with the official plan. Staff comment, the application must conform to the official plan map, Schedule B, the future land use plan, and the official plan text, Schedule A, as per council's policy set out in section 5.22 of the official plan text, which I will read now. 5.2.2, location of high-density housing. Council intentions about locating high-density housing are important to residents concerned about potential location of row houses and apartment buildings into their predominantly low-density neighborhoods. To help allay these concerns, council lays out specific policies below on where they may allow future high-density housing, some of which elaborate on their foregoing policies for special planning and development areas. And that location criteria for locating high-density housing in the city of Summerside include the desirability of infilling properties which are already partly developed for higher density housing, the desirability of locating high-density housing close to jobs, community facilities and services, and of promoting pedestrian access, opportunities for maximizing the number of opportunities for scenic views through higher density and taller residential buildings, but with protection of adequate view planes, benefits of locating higher density housing in difficult to service areas so that they can help distribute expensive development costs among more users, opportunities for innovative mixes of high density housing with other residential development in CDAs, opportunities for recycling older non-heritage residential properties with higher density development, opportunities for apartments in residential/commercial use buildings, and avoidance of negative economic and physical impacts on surrounding land uses, whether existing or proposed. The objective is to encourage high density housing in specific areas, and the following are council's statements of policy. Promote high-density housing on properties already partly developed for high-density housing. Consider applications for high-density housing in the following situations. A mix of housing types in CDAs, areas presently occupied by conforming mobile home parks, see Council Policy 5.3.2.5, rezonings in areas presently designated for medium-density R3 zone residential use, areas immediately north of the downtown, defined as Notre Dame Street to the north, Granville Street to the east, Heather Moyse Drive to the south, and Duke Street to the west, subject to no harmful impacts on local heritage housing within residential/commercial buildings. Downtown D zone, the urban core area, all districts. City arterial or collector roads as referenced in section 7.1 and figure 7-1. And consider applications for high-density housing in other areas with careful consideration of council's location criteria listed above. And section 7.1.1, arterials in the city, Water Street East, which this one would pertain to, as well as South Drive / Water Street West and Heather Moyse Drive. C, suitability of the site for the proposed development. Staff comment, the site is suitable for high-density residential land use. Existing public street network and municipal services are available on Reed Drive for this development. D, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. Staff comment, the subject property abuts existing land uses. Immediate east is residential land use. The lands to the south are agricultural land use, and the land use to the north and west are commercial. The subject property abuts residential, commercial, and agricultural projected land uses. The land use from commercial to residential would be compatible, subject to council's policies in section 5.22. The change in zone from commercial to residential would be considered a downzoning. E, any comments from residents or other interested persons? Staff comment, a public meeting was held on December 5th, 2023. The public meeting notice was advertised in the November 18th edition of The Guardian. 8 letters were mailed to 8 property owners. The applicant provided a brief overview of the proposed development at the public meeting. At the public meeting, Stephen Crozier spoke on behalf of the Crozier family's farm at 421 Reed Drive. Mr. Crozier stated that the Crozier family supports the application and made comments. Mr. Crozier submitted an email following the meeting. The email is attached to this report. Blois McClellan also submitted comments prior to the public meeting. Mr. McClellan's email was read at the public meeting. Geraldine Grant, 102 Goody Crescent, expressed traffic concerns in her email. The development officer replied to Ms. Grant. The email correspondence is attached to this report. F, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements. Staff comment, the city's water supply in the area is adequate for the new development, and the sewage treatment plant can handle the additional loading. New water and sewer infrastructure will have to be installed to service this new development, including a sewer main augured under the provincial highway at Reed's Corner. Provincial approval is required. The developer is responsible for the zoning change increases in sewer loading. That is amounted to a cost of $36,000. All infrastructure is to be designed and installed to meet city standards. The property PID number 72090 to the south and the property PID number 1136381 to the east of this development will require allowances from this development for sewer, water, storm, electric, and street connections. There is currently no City of Summerside street access for this development. The site plan indicates a future road connecting to the Reed's Corner intersection. The developer will be required to obtain access to the provincial highway and provide a site plan showing the street connection and approvals from the province. The site plan shows the development access via an existing provincial intersection with a future street. The future street or streets will be required to be designed by a civil engineer. Future street connections to adjoining properties should be shown on the plan to allow for orderly and following development to the adjoining properties to the east and south of this development to meet provincial street access requirements to the provincial highway, Route 1A, Reed Drive, to allow for development of properties to the east. The plan submitted indicates that PID number 756825 will be subdivided in the future, with the subject property being rezoned from C2 to R4. The new subdivided subject property contains the power line servicing, the overall PID number 756825, and the existing Prestige Plaza. Power line is located along the south side of the new R4 parcel. See the sketch below. As such, new subdivided R4 parcel will need to provide a utility easement along the existing power line route within the bounds of the new parcel to maintain existing electric service to the existing development, or the power line will need to be moved into the remaining lands of PID 756825 at the developer's expense. There is ample parkland, Meadow Heights Park, located within 700 meters of the subject development, and the park is accessible by street or walkway network. Parkland dedication may be required, subject to major subdivision of lands. G, impacts from the development on pedestrian or vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally. Staff comment, the site plan indicates a temporary access connected to an existing parking area for the existing Prestige Plaza buildings. This temporary access is to be removed at the time that the future street is placed into service, and the development is to be connected to the future street. The existing portion of the temporary access is 7.6 meters plus or minus wide from Reed Drive to the new access area, allowing for two-way access to the proposed development. The new portion of the temporary access must be 7.6 meters minimum width to allow for two-way access, and a service vehicle turnaround will be required. The zoning change from C2 to R4 allows for future development, assuming there could be 28 units and 1.5 vehicles per unit and 4 trips per day would result in 28 times 1.5 times 4, which would be 168 vehicles per day accessing the development to an arterial highway. This proposal would result in 6 vehicles per day leaving through the existing commercial access to an arterial provincial highway, which would be negligible to the arterial highway capacity of greater than 25,000 vehicles per day. The future street indicated is to be designed to meet current city bylaw SS19 to create 4 individual street access for this development and individual servicing requirement for a 4-unit building for water, sewer, and storm mains. Summerside Electric Power Grid has adequate capacity for R4 development in this area. The submitted drawing Reed's Corner interim site plan indicates future public roads to be built. Developer is to submit subdivision plans to utility and coordinate power line needs. Any relocation of utility poles required to be coordinated in advance of construction. H, compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. Staff comment, the development has no impact on environmental, scenic, or heritage resources. I, impacts on city finances and budgets. Staff comment, not applicable. J, other matters as specified in this bylaw. Staff comment, a construction agreement and engineering design will be required for the future street right-of-way and its connections to other properties. K, other matters as considered relevant. Staff comment, Route 1A, Reed Drive, is a provincial arterial highway. The awaited meeting between the province and the city to discuss access for this development was as a result of the applicant's decision to proceed with a rezoning application, not as a result of the applicant regrading his site. Staff review. City staff supports the application from 102454 PEI Inc. for a portion of PID number 756825 to rezone from C2 to R4. As per section 5.10 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for a final decision. That final decision will be made on the meeting of January 9th at 5 p.m. The planning board recommendation, the application received from 102454 PEI Inc. for a portion of PID number 756825 to amend the City of Summerside official plan from commercial land use to residential land use, and to amend the city zoning bylaw from service commercial C2 zone to high-density residential R4 zone, be recommended to be approved by council. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Snow. Are there any questions from council or staff?
I just had a really quick question.
Councillor Adams.
So, okay, and I just don't understand where it says, I just want clarification, just in case anybody asks. So, the zoning change from C2 to R4, allows for future development, assuming there would be 28 units and 1.5 vehicles per unit and 4 trips a day. So 28 by 1.5 by 4 is 168 vehicles per day accessing the development to an arterial highway. This proposal would result in 6 vehicles per day leaving through the existing commercial access to an arterial provincial highway. I don't get, so is that like, at this time, like, I don't get where we get 6.
What's before us today is one building
Right.
divided into 4 units. So the
Okay.
overall concept that he had submitted, I think, was 6 or 5 buildings.
Right,
What it's saying there is this proposal that's currently before us is only for the one building he's showing.
right,
One building for 4 units. 4 units, but 1.5 gets you 6
right.
vehicles, so.
And 168 would be if it was all developed.
If, yes,
Okay,
everything that
okay,
he had proposed, it changes, but what we had before us was an overall plan. Would be the 168, but what's before us now would just be it.
Okay, if no further questions, we'll just, I guess, call for a vote from the planning board, and this will go to final decision on January 9th. Members of the planning board, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? There are none. So I will hand things back over to Mayor Kutcher.
Thank you, Councillor, and members of Planning Board and Council. It's now 6:19 PM, so we will, I will adjourn the Planning Board meeting, and we will begin our monthly meeting at 6:30 PM. right, folks, I think we're going to get started here. Welcome, members of the public joining us in person, those joining virtually. I'm going to call to order the City of Summerside Monthly Council meeting of December 18th, 2023, starting right on time at 6:30 p.m. First, I will call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Morrison, second Councillor Adams, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll continue with the agenda as presented. Item 1C, opportunity for any member of council to identify or declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda. Hearing none, we will move on to item 2, minutes, approval of meeting minutes. I'm going to call for a motion to approve the in-camera meeting minutes of November 20th, 2023, the monthly meeting minutes of November 20th, 2023, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of December 5th, 2023, the Special Council meeting minutes of December 5th, 2023, and the in-camera meeting minutes of December 5th, 2023. Can I get a motion from a member of council? Councillor McColman, second Councillor Adams. All in favor of adopting the said minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are adopted. I'll now put on the floor a motion to adopt the Planning Board meeting minutes of November 20th, 2023. So we're looking for a motion from a member of Planning Board. Councillor Snow, second. Councillor Morrison, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the Planning Board meeting minutes are hereby also adopted. Item 3, we move on to accolades recognitions. This is the opportunity for any member of council to identify any accolades or recognitions in our community over the course of the past couple of weeks. Councillor Adams?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I just wanted to do a general shout out to all the service groups and everybody that's going over and above this time of year. It's a stressful time of year for a lot of people, and this year we see a lot more families struggling. So, and sometimes when we're faced with these challenges, it's amazing the people we see step up. So we've seen a lot of good things happen around the city, and so I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody that has went over and above to make sure that everybody has some sort of a holiday this year.
I was going to do this during my report, but I might as well mention it. Just a shout out to coach of the Western Caps, Billy McGuigan, who recently, I believe yesterday, won a silver medal at the Canadian World Junior A Challenge. I think that's 2 years in a row for Mr. McGuigan, and be quite an honor. Unfortunately, he didn't get the goal, but to get that far would be quite an honor, and congratulations to him and his team.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Morrison. At this point, we move on to item 4, which is public presentations, petitions to get delegations. I don't believe there are any scheduled for this evening. Item 5, which is appointment to committees. There are no appointments that I'm aware of to committees either this evening. So we're rolling right along here. Item 6, introduction and reading of bylaws and resolutions. First up, 6A, which is 25 Frank Mellis Drive, restricted use. At this point, I will hand the meeting over to our Chair of Planning Board, Councillor Duran. Councillor.
Okay, thank you once again, Your Worship. We'll get right into it as well. Restricted use application for 25 Frank Mellis Drive. Background, application was received from the Department of Housing, Land and Communities for 25 Frank Mellis Drive, PID number 1030303. This application will require City Council approval to allow an emergency housing shelter as a restricted use in the institutional I zone. The application was advertised in the December 5th edition of The Guardian, and letters were mailed to property owners within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. Explanation of the process. In order to process a restricted use, the following steps are required. Step 1, the restricted use is read at a public meeting, and that step is taking place this evening. Step 2, Planning Board reviews the application and prepares a recommendation to Council. Step 2 takes place at the Planning Board meeting, which is January 9th, 5 p.m. Step 3, the restricted use is read to be adopted by Council. The resolution will be either carried or defeated by vote of Council. And Step 3 takes place at Council's second meeting, which will be third Monday in January at 6:30. Please note that in accordance with Section 5.20 of the City Zoning Bylaw, any person who is dissatisfied by a decision of council in respect to the administration of this bylaw may appeal council's decision within 21 days to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission. The current zoning, institutional, I. The purpose of this zone is to accommodate institutional buildings for education, health, government, public safety, recreation, culture, and religion. Permitted uses in the institutional I zone, subject to bylaw requirements. Cemetery, government office, college, university, school premises, place of worship, hospital, cultural or interpretive center, accessory building, small, medium, and large childcare facility, public library, museum and gallery, or community center. Permitted residential uses are community care and nursing homes and social services agencies. Discretionary uses, subject to council approval, include jail or correctional centers, emergency services facilities, utility facilities, solar energy collector system, or research/laboratory facility. We will now, we'll now invite the applicant to make any comments or present any information that they would like to present. Ann Drake and Jason Doyle, I believe, are here. Both, if you'd like to, if there's anything you'd like to say on the onset, by all means do so. And if you're able to answer any questions that anybody in the public may have, that would be great as well. I do have, I guess in the form of a letter, the applicant's submission. I can read that word for word at this time, or you can read it, or I can read it, and you can follow up. But I will do that, and then we'll see who may want to speak. So the applicant's submission is description of project, 10-bed emergency overnight shelter for Summerside. The supportive housing section of the PEI Department of Social Development and Housing is submitting this application to apply for a restricted use permit to allow for a 10-bed emergency overnight shelter to be created in Summerside on property number 1030303. This shelter is in response to a request by the City of Summerside to the Department of Housing, Land and Communities to address the issue of homelessness. The response is informed by the following consultations, and there are a couple of links there that point to a couple of PDF documents, and this agenda is available online, so you can go on and copy and paste those and read for yourself if anybody is watching or listening. The Department of Housing, Land and Communities has issued an expression of interest for the operation of a 10-bed emergency shelter, and that closing is December 13th, 2023. The successful candidates will be the community partner operating the emergency shelter under contract with the department. The emergency shelter will work collaboratively with community partners and government services, both locally and across the province, as a partner in addressing homelessness PEI, with a leadership role on the governance team and as a frontline service provider joining the by name list/case conference table. As a partner in addressing homelessness PEI, the 10-bed emergency shelter will have the support from other organizations that work in this sector to share knowledge and resources in service delivery that will support the development of housing-focused support plans for clients. There will be standardized bed utilization reporting using the Homeless Individuals and Families Information System 4.0 and data collection on service usage and program outcomes. This data can be used for evidence-informed decision-making for future service and housing needs. The physical infrastructure of the project has not been decided yet. While early discussion pointed to a structure similar to the shelter located at Park Street in Charlottetown, there is interest from the City of Summerside in exploring other options. An expression of interest will be issued for the development of the 10-bed units in January 2024. So if Ann or Jason, if you'd like to add anything to that, feel free to do so. Otherwise, if anyone in the gallery would like to either make comments or ask questions, I would just ask that you step forward to the podium and state your name and address, And if there are any questions directed to Ann or Jason, if one of you could also step forward to the mic when the time comes, just so we can have it recorded. And if there are any questions tonight that may not be able to be specifically answered at this exact meeting, everything is being compiled, and those answers will be reported back on the January 9th evening. So anything that we have at our fingertips or at staff's fingertips or the applicant's fingertips tonight will surely be answered, but just to make everyone aware that we don't always have the exact answers to the questions the night of this first meeting. So with that said, if anybody has any remarks or questions they'd like to make, just to step forward and state your name and address.
Hi, I've got a few. I guess we'll go one at a time, perhaps. Carissa Ryan, 425 Taylor Road. So apologies, I didn't get through the links, and sorry if I'm asking questions for which answers have already been provided. Can you tell me a little bit more about the plan? So it's my understanding that the provincial capital budget held a plan for 25 beds for $2.4 million. Why the mid-flight change?
Well, I think that's, I don't know if you want me to get up to the podium or
If you could please, just so anybody on YouTube can, yeah.
back and forth. So I was just going to say that's a 5-year plan. So
Okay.
in terms of our immediate project is a 10-bed emergency shelter, but we do have a plan over time to increase that number of beds up to 25, and that could be through a combination of emergency shelter beds, but also supportive housing beds in the community as well. So that's the reason for the discrepancy there.
Can you elaborate on supportive housing for me?
So supportive housing would be could be a structure or a building that has more support services offered to clients, and could be in the form of transitional housing, where you have a more focused program for clients to receive the support and services that they need to be successful. So that could be by way of transitional housing, where we're talking short-term support, so potentially a 12 or 18-month program, but also more supportive housing in the community that could be potentially kind of permanent supportive housing for the clients that are in most need.
And would that also constitute transitional housing of sorts?
Yeah, so the transitional housing could be a method or a part of supportive housing. It could be. So transitional housing is a example of supportive housing.
Okay. Would families go here if displaced in the event of homelessness? Would you place families, including small children, at this shelter?
Small children would not be placed in emergency shelter situations. We would do whatever we could to try and make a more adequate or suitable space for young children. We are discussing kind of the service model of this facility going forward, but we would expect that this would be a gender-inclusive facility, so it could take couples, but small children under the age of 18 would not be able to be in this facility.
Okay, thank you for that. Why? Is it the physical layout? Is it sort of open beds? Like, what is it that makes it not appropriate for children under the age of 18?
Well, I think from a safety perspective, that would be the primary reason as to why it would not be suitable for young children.
Okay, and what makes it unsafe?
So this is a kind of a low barrier emergency shelter. So there are certain situations that you would probably not suitable for a young child. Could be many different examples, but ultimately the safety is kind of the most important factor when looking at this type of operation, and we don't feel that young children would be suitable in this facility.
I see. And so there's been discussion about comparable to the Park Street location and the buildings there. However, it's my understanding that the Park Street location is operated by the province. In this instance, PEI Housing has elected for an expression of interest from non-government organizations?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and why the difference?
Well, I think the nonprofit sector has a very specific expertise when managing this type of project or these clients, and I think that is kind of the main focus. A nonprofit organization has more expertise than government, and it's kind of something that our hope is that at some point in the future, Park Street Emergency Shelter may not be operated by government. It is currently operated by government, but like I mentioned earlier, the nonprofit sector has that expertise and has that day-to-day relationship with clients, and we feel at this point they are better positioned to operate this type of facility.
I see. I may have some follow-on questions, but I don't want to take away from the ability of others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? There is a couple of letters that came in that I'll read, and we'll also go to council as well, but anybody, this is certainly the opportunity for the public, so. And if you don't mind, again, just state your name and address for the record.
First of all, it's good to be here tonight. Have the honour to speak in front of the city, Mr. Chairman, mayors, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. This newly idea of building up a shelter is going to be an estimated 180 feet from my property. How would anyone in this room like to have a shelter built on their front lawn? I doubt if too many would agree with it. I doubt if I'll have any power on it, but anyway, I'll speak my say of the matter. To say of the matter, it's been built on a vacant field next to the manor. Like I said, it's I wouldn't have much power of the matter, but anyway, I know that it's been used. Proposed building is going to be put on agricultural land. The manor was put on prime agricultural land, not by complete family choice. I had no say in the matter. And anyway, after this proposed manor is put up, if such, will it be any age limit allowed on it? Age limit maybe from 16 up to old age, or what?
It would be over the age of 18.
And to no age limit otherwise?
No.
What would be allowed on maybe, we'll set an example, a lady with one kid be allowed on it because of family problems?
So I guess in general here, we have not completed the exact service delivery model for this shelter at this point. But in general, if there is a young child or a child that's under the age of 18, we would be looking at an alternative arrangement for that family.
Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing down the road with a space there, what location will it be to, accordance of 60 meters, which is 180 feet, and I'm practically next door to it, and of course I'm not, that land does not belong to me. How close to those 180 feet will it be located?
I think that's still to be determined. This is kind of our first step in the plan to identify if this piece of land could be used. So I think our plan would be to work with the community members and the surrounding community to make sure that it's safe and in an appropriate area on that piece of land. But to say the exact location of it, I would not be able to answer that today.
I noticed back further there was a small portion of land used for hayfield. Different businesses had inquired about it. It was of little use to the farm due to the size of it, but still the city keeps on building it slowly, coming in. The hospital went in, the money went toward the farm, the manor, the money went directly to one person, causing a family conflict, and now this year housing project coming in next to me, which I will have a little say in the matter, but I'll speak my voice anyway. What is going to be considered in this different housing affairs, different health center, or it's going to be divided more or less strictly for a shelter?
Yes, that's correct. At this time, that's what's being contemplated.
Mm-hmm. Also, I do question, I doubt if any councillor, mayor, or people in the audience would be interested in having such a project built next to them. However, I wish them all the best, and if I have my say in the matter, I will be partially against it. Will there be any control over it as far as there could be in my area? I notice many people from the shelters I've already bumped into seem to have no place to live. I would certainly hire one on if they were any use to me. However, it's been moved into next to farming area, and a former mayor once quoted, talking directly to me. I was sort of notified by running farming spreader into the field, and they were not pleased with the smell. I contacted the former mayor, and he said, "You spread wherever you have to. You're on your own land." However, when this new shelter is built, I will certainly be watching where such a distance, how far from the manor will it be? Or have you any update on that?
Yeah, I think in general, I think we're still working on that. To be honest, I think we still have to formalize the exact location of the emergency shelter on this piece of land. I think this is kind of the first step in determining if we can get the approval to proceed.
If there happens to be kids allowed in it, will there be such a thing as a playground area for them?
So this emergency shelter will be for individuals that are over the age of 18. So it's the proposed service delivery model will be an overnight emergency shelter. So it will not there will not be any children in the facility.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Could I, if you don't mind, sir, we didn't get your name, just for the minutes. We gotta record everything for staff, so.
You don't want to know my name. Byron Poppet. Now you'll
We
remember.
can probably
me.
narrow down where you live.
Yes. In concluding, I doubt if you would want a shelter built on your back lawn. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ken Minard. I live on Roy Boats, which is going to be directly across the street from the two seniors buildings that are there and then the manor. And with this going in directly behind the seniors, I guess my question is, I have two questions. One is, was there any other properties that were considered to be appropriate for this to be built on? That may not be as close to that kind of with a lot of people living in a very small spot. I guess that the comments that I've heard is that some people have concerns in the daytime with the shelter being built there and with the comings and goings and things, and wondering if that should be a concern, or is that something that is that people should not have to think about? So the security and the location were the two things that I had to. That was my personal concern about that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I think this project has kind of been a joint project with the staff of the city of Summerside, and we did investigate several other properties, to be honest, to look at a potential emergency shelter location. This one was deemed kind of most appropriate by all parties, and that's why we chose to proceed with this project on this location. But yeah, we definitely did look at other locations from a pure land perspective, but also from a existing structure perspective. We did look at many different locations. And I think security for sure is top of mind for us as well. If we proceed at this location, we're going to do our very best to make sure that the area is secure. We haven't, like I mentioned, fully flushed out the service model, but we would expect that there's the possibility to have security on site and those types of things to try and make it more safe and appropriate for the community.
If I could ask Jason, if you don't mind, I don't know when the Park Street facility was at the same stage. Was there a similar? Did it have to be rezoned there as well? Like, did you have to go to a meeting in Charlottetown to kind of go over the same process?
So not exactly. We did have to receive a major variance on that piece of land.
Right.
So
I guess, yeah. I guess where I'm going with that is, like, what were there similar premonitions to residents in the Charlottetown area, and maybe if you could speak to how that facility operates now on a day-to-day, so people can kind of get an idea of how they thought it may have been versus what it turned out to be. Not that this is going to be identical to that, because, as you say, the government runs that one, and the idea is for not-for-profit to run this one. But just, can you speak to anything, what was expected there versus what it's actually like now?
Yeah, I think in general, when we first proceeded with the project at Park Street in Charlottetown, a lot of the same concerns were raised. I think it's gone quite well over the last 12 months at Park Street, certainly facing challenges with respect to migration paths of the clients, but we were able to we were able to kind of mitigate some of those issues. We did provide transportation services in the Charlottetown area for those clients. We put, we have security in place at the center as well. We had fencing put up, installed for privacy purposes, both from the client's perspective and the community. We had, established an open channel of communication between the staff of the operations manager of Park Street and the community, including city police services and other community partners in the community. So all of those things have helped to mitigate some of those concerns. Obviously, they exist at Park Street in Charlottetown, but they exist all throughout the community of Charlottetown. It's not just necessarily as a result of the Park Street shelter. It's certainly a challenge within the community of Charlottetown, and I know Summerside is facing similar challenges with individuals sleeping rough outside and those types of things that we're trying to help avoid.
Okay, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Snow.
Thank you. Jason, I'm curious, and so just for clarity, because like when we talk Charlottetown, I know there's a couple of locations down there, and there's the Euston Street or the old curling club. We're talking Park Street, which is the modular homes. That's what's sort of being proposed at this location, correct?
Yeah, so kind of too early to say for sure, but what our plan would be to have something similar to the Park Street emergency shelters. May not be the exact same. We do plan to go out through an RFP process to get prices on potential units for the site. That would be the plan currently.
So, based on Park Street, could you give us just a quick overview of things that have been going well and maybe things that have not gone so well, and currently where Park Street is in operation and how it's working with the surrounding communities? So for example, Park Street is located by the racetrack and by the rink. There's not a ton of residential in that area. This location is closer to senior living, and how the plan is to access it, those sort of things, because I feel people are sort of a little bit concerned about during the day, people heading through their property, being around their property, how that's gonna jive with the surrounding area. So I assume, based on Park Street, there's things that we know have gone really well, things that maybe have not gone well, and hopefully things are improving as the months go by. So just if you can give just a quick overview of that, that'd be great.
Sure, for sure. I think in general, a bit of a different operation in Park Street. Obviously, it's a 50-bed facility, so the volume of clients utilizing the service is significantly higher. I would almost equate this project similar to the Winter Street emergency shelter that we have in Summerside. That's currently a 6-bed operation, so it's kind of similar in volume to that. But going back to your question on Park Street, I think in Charlottetown, before we opened the emergency shelter, the community was facing significant challenges with people sleeping outside in unsafe conditions. And this operation the shelter that we were able to open at Park Street has certainly been a big help to help those clients find a warm spot to sleep at night. Certainly not without its challenges. Open drug use is a big one. Cleanup services, those types of things that you would expect is very important. So we have cleanup services that we do offer in the community. We try to work as best we can with the community members. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have our operations manager at the facility has kind of an open line of communication with community members and businesses in the surrounding area, which has helped, I think, alleviate some of the concerns or the perceived concerns from residents. We were able to, once we did have the point of opening our emergency shelter at Park Street, we did try to do our best to have a transparent process to allow community members to come in and visit and come in and see the location. We opened it up to residents. We opened it up to the business community to come in and take a look and just to get a better idea of what the operation was. So honestly, I think we envisioned something very similar to what we did in Park Street in the Summerside area. Having said that, it is a significantly lower number of people that would be going to the shelter, as it is a 10-bed facility.
So the expression of interest closed on the 13th. Not looking for you to say that, you know, so-and-so has expressed interest, but have you received some applications or expressions of interest, and are things looking positive from your guys' standpoint in the possible partnership or whatever's going to be?
Yes, yeah, for sure. We have, like you said, we did have that close on December 13th, and we did receive 4 proposals, so that was great to see. So we're optimistic over the coming weeks we'll be reviewing those proposals and moving forward with another party to potentially operate the shelter.
I do have a question. Hours of operation, is it open 8 hours or is it a 24-hour shelter?
So the idea would be an overnight emergency shelter, so 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
I literally just turned it on. I know we keep going back to Park Street quite often, but I guess right now it's really the only thing to compare it to other than Winter Street. How many beds does Park Street currently have?
Park Street is a 50-bed shelter.
Okay. And if we were to say similar structure to how Park Street is run, what is staffing currently like there? How many people are on staff? Like, what's the ratio of staff to people who are staying there?
Probably can't answer that with 100% accuracy right now. We can get that information there for you though and bring it back.
Okay.
That was my same question, so.
And we'll obviously have that answer for our report on the 9th. So that's the information that helps us obviously compile and make decisions. So as I said at the onset of the meeting, questions like that can't be answered will be answered for the next meeting. So I do have a couple of letters that came in, excuse me, that we typically read in as well. So I'll do that, and then I think Councillor Glant has a letter as well that she was sent. So it's just a couple written comments. First one is from Peter Poirier. I would like to voice my opposition for the proposed location for the emergency housing shelter that is going to public meeting on December 18th. My 89-year-old mother lives in the building on Nancy Guptill Drive. Her and all the other seniors that live in the nearby apartments and at the manor should not be subject to the goings on at a homeless shelter. I currently live in Charlottetown, and I imagine you are very well aware of the situation we have here. The close by senior apartments all have ground level entrances. The seniors in those buildings will not feel safe. That is the last thing a senior should be feeling, not safe. I fully understand that there is a need for this housing. I just do not think that placing it amongst seniors housing is the most appropriate location. Thank you, Peter Poirier. And the second letter comes from Greg Morrison. I saw a letter of notice of public meeting for the 25 Frank Mellish Street, PID 1030303, and had a couple of questions about what is being proposed. Section 5.13 of the zoning bylaw states that council may approve or deny restricted use approval to allow certain uses in this bylaw in accordance with the standards in Section 8.5. It does not appear that an emergency housing shelter is defined in the bylaw. Does emergency housing shelters need to be identified within the bylaw in order to be considered as a certain use in this bylaw? Section 8.5 F of the zoning bylaw states that the restricted use, sorry, yeah, that makes sense. The restricted use designation is for a single use only and restricts land use to a single purpose. The definition of restricted use designation also means restricting land use to a single purpose with council's approval. A nursing care facility is currently located on PID number 1030303. In order to restrict the emergency housing shelter land use to a single purpose, would the property not have to be vacant? Would adding this restricted use to a property that currently has a nursing care facility introduce multiple land uses? And then in general, is the information provided on page 2 below the map all that is available from the province? What are the proposed hours of operation? And again, some of these may have been answered tonight. Is the proposal for only one modular building containing 10 beds? Is this proposed modular building the temporary solution to emergency housing like in Charlottetown, or is this a permanent solution / location? If only one modular building is proposed at this time, are there plans for expansion in the future? How will the proposed shelter be serviced from an infrastructure perspective? Will water and sewer be pulled from the manor? Is the plan to extend Frank Mellis Street? Will it circumvent PID number 601849, which appears to not be owned by the province? Is the plan to share the parking lot currently utilized by the manor, or will it be expanded? And when would the modular building be placed and operational if approved? I would think that the province has seen the questions and concerns raised by the Park Street shelter in Charlottetown and would have put together a proper operational plan in advance of the public meeting to address any foreseeable concerns. Thanks for any additional information you can provide. So that was an email sent in to Linda Stevenson on December 8th. Obviously, a couple of those questions have been addressed, so we will address what we can tonight, again, in the planning board report. And the final one is from Carol Yo. I am concerned about the development being discussed behind the Somerset Manor, as I am a senior and live alone. As well, the folks that live in the senior apartments across from me could be at risk too. I live on the ground floor of my apartment building behind Walmart, and many already cut through the yard outside my window. I am opposed to this type of home in my neighborhood. I am physically unable to attend the meeting, or I would be there to voice my concerns. Sincerely, Carol Yo. So that is all I have from written correspondence. I believe Councillor Gallant has a letter as well.
Yeah, I received one today, actually. To whom it may concern, I am very lucky to be living in Frank Mellish Senior Housing. They treat us very well. Great location. We're very comfortable and warm. Most of us worked hard during our various careers and enjoy our present environment. To put a homeless shelter makes us nervous. I understand due to the elevation cost of rent and housing, it creates a problem for the less fortunate. I compliment the organization and kind people trying to help the needy. My suggestion is to offer them a job and give them a chance to earn their keep, like we all had to do. Continue to and stop continuing to enable these individuals. We're not really helping them. I understand all the circumstances are difficult, sooner just down on their luck. Some have mental issues, some have addictions, some have never gotten a fair chance. My suggestion is that we offer help for whatever got them in this terrible position in the first place, like rehabilitation courses, not continuing to enable them themselves. I know it's difficult to find proper location, but 25 Frank Mellish is not appropriate, with 2 seniors' homes, the Manor and the PCH nearby. Thank you, Rena Goody. As the counselor for this ward, I've gotten quite a few comments, few letters, but I'm just going to state a couple of things. I do understand the concerns of the residents of the area. But as I've said before, housing and food security is not a luxury. It's a fundamental right for everyone. And everybody needs a roof over their head and food to keep them alive. These people are no different than you and I. We are going into the Christmas season here, and I think it's time we start to be humble and kind and have compassion for the less fortunate in our community.
Anyone else? Either public or, Susan?
My name is Susan DeRoche, and I would just like to point out you're comparing the Park Street shelter with the new men's shelter, and it's a totally different concept. The Winter Street shelter is a 24/7 shelter, so we don't have clients waiting at the door to come in the evening to get their bed for the night. Those clients stay at the Winter Street shelter for as long as a period as they need to get wraparound services and whatever else they need. The Park Street shelter is a 12-hour shelter, and I know that clients are only there from 8 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they're back down at the outreach center or wandering around Charlottetown. So I feel that the 12-hour model is not a great fit, but having said that, 12 hours is better than nothing. I have been an advocate for the homelessness community for the last 4 or 5 years in Summerside, and I know we need beds, but if we're gonna go to the trouble of opening something for a low barrier, which we do need for both genders, can we not consider the 24/7 model that has been proposed in the 2018 homeless needs assessment? And that way it is more secure, the clients have more services, and I think they will be happier, and I think the residents that live around there will feel a lot safer if people aren't coming and going every 12 hours to get a bed for the night. So I just wanted to point out you can't compare Winter Street and Park Street because they are not the same proposals. Thank you.
So I wrote to Norma yesterday. My name is Emily. I'm Emily Walker. I'm a resident of Summerside, and I also wrote to say that it needs to be a 24-hour shelter. I can't imagine where we think people are going to go at 8 a.m. if we don't have an outreach center, and having people kicked out. Sorry, I'm not used to talking in public. Kicked out of essentially a safe place for 12 hours a day is not safe for us or them. It's unkind. And I think it's our responsibility to do our best to care for these community members who are already here and need our assistance. And I think we're all closer to being houseless than any of us realize, and we should have compassion for them. Thank you.
And thank you. And if I could just, Councillor Coleman is next. I just wanted to, before I forget, to just sort of remind everyone, and this isn't in response to any particular comment, but sometimes we get into the discussions and we sort of fail to remember that when we do come to the decision on this, we are voting, I don't like the term voting, but essentially it's a vote of council on the use of the land. We're not voting on how the facility is going to be run or the ages of people that are going to be there. So just important that people watching and listening know that it's our decision to decide on the use of the land, not what the building's going to look like or who's going to be in it. So just with that in mind. So Councillor McCollum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge for Emily, I did receive your email, and it did go to Planning Board Chair as well as the Technical Services Committee, just to document that. Thanks.
And yes, yeah, I got it, we got it. Sometimes I don't know if we should be reading individual letters to individual counselors, or if it has to come in, if it's not in the package, do we read it? But maybe that's something we can sort of look into for procedural, if we should read every letter that gets to every counselor, or if it's something that has to be compiled at the time that we make the agenda anyway. But I'm glad that it was certainly it was sent to all of us, and I received it, and so yeah. You're up again.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm not done with you yet. I noticed, surprisingly, many here opposing the idea of a shelter built on land next to me. I would be the closest opposition member to it. It's surprisingly how many are opposing such a project. Why could it not have been located on Greenwood Drive? That would be one possibility. Why are they continually using up good agricultural land? It's a killer for those that are trying to expand. As money bites into the property and the money is invested in the wrong area and not directly back into the agriculture. I am surprised that the ones that are opposed to it, and that yet I am the one that lives the closest to it. And also, whereabouts, what kind of a highway is going to be running into this shelter?
So I think those things still need to be ironed out. At this point, we wouldn't have a site plan developed exactly for what it would look like. So that's kind of the next step in the process.
Would it have to be a new highway developed in particular for this new shelter, or would there's already 2 driveways leading up to it? I would be very pleased to see my driveway paved to get to the shelter.
Yeah, so I think that would be kind of to be determined after we kind of develop the site plan for that piece of property.
Of course, I wouldn't object to having a private driveway developed for that, but again, with the opposition that I've heard tonight about it, and yet I'm the one that's living the closest to it. However, it could be an advantage to me should I get behind on payments. At least I suppose I have a shelter to go to. Thank you.
Chair, can I just ask one quick question, just while Duncan's making his way up? Just so there's no confusion, because it's been mentioned a couple times, I know it's agriculture around the area, but the parcel of land we're dealing with is already institutional, correct?
It's already zoned
Okay.
institutional.
I just didn't want there to be any, I know there is agriculture around
Yeah.
it.
Oddly enough, I expect that the land on Greenwood is probably agricultural.
Yeah, I know, I just didn't want there to be any.
Yeah. And that's currently owned by the province, right? It's, yeah. Okay. Duncan.
My name is Duncan McKillop, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I want to thank the City of Summerside, the Mayor and the Council and the provincial government for starting this initiative to provide temporary housing for those in need. 5 years ago, if we look back, homelessness and food insecurity did not seem to be a major issue in Summerside. Most citizens were not aware of individuals sleeping in cars or those who were living rough. Today, that's not the case. We have in every part of the city people that are couch surfing, living in cars, living in bank ATMs at night, in abandoned buildings, in garages, in tents, and other places as well. Addiction, mental health, economic conditions, and other factors are working against those individuals, and the trend of being unhoused seems to increase every year. With winter coming on, I'm worried about their safety, and I think their safety is at risk. I'm concerned that we might find one or more unhoused with serious medical conditions from living outside, or even worse than that. I'm encouraged when I look around to see the general public trying to step up to assist these individuals. It's very unfortunate that no shelters in place for these individuals for 2023 and 24. And I think we as citizens and you as council and the provincial government have to make sure there's something in place for next year, for next winter. Now, with any new initiative, there's always issues. And one of the issues that was stated tonight was safety and security. And that's, for the people in the area, that's really important, that's addressed. And Justin, you talked about that this is an 8-to-8 program, and you don't have it, once you rezone it, you don't have any authority. I think the city does have some authority and some leverage that they can bring to bear to try to have a day program. I don't think it's fair to these individuals that you turn them out at 8 o'clock. You need some place for them to be during the day. And these people are unhoused for a variety of different reasons. We don't want to see that continue. We want to see that they have an opportunity to come to some sort of permanent shelter. So I think it's important that there are offices there and ability to have services provided at that location so that they can work with these individuals in order that they can get some sort of shelter, whether it's addiction counseling or mental health or working with their economic situation. And also we need, in order to be effective, we need to collect data. And I am glad to hear the province say that. We're going to solve a problem, we need data-driven decisions. Just one other suggestion is more low-cost housing. I know it's on the agenda of everybody, and I would encourage you to work hard or harder in order to see that in place, because we know that's an issue. One other concern I have, and this doesn't maybe relate to what we're talking about, is there are a lot of organizations that are providing assistance. And I would like to see either the city or the province have some sort of coordination with them. We have a lot of people that want to help, and I think that's a positive thing. And I think it's going to take us all levels of government and community organizations working together to provide solutions. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Jason, real quickly, just on that, are the clients, and again, Susan, I don't mean to compare Park Street, but I mean this is sort of along the lines of Park Street. Are the clients that utilize Park Street, are they given like consultation, like services to different programs, or is it just strictly emergency, come in, spend the night and get out? Like, is there staff that sort of provide assistance to them in terms of the availability of some of these employment programs and different things, or?
Absolutely, yes. So all of our staff are caseworkers within the facility, and they would do their best on a daily basis to connect the clients that are utilizing the shelter to specific services within the community.
And just another quick question, Jason. So the day programs that would be next door at mental health, like at the Prince County Hospital, are those programs, I mean, maybe you don't even know really, because it's sort of a different department, but with those programs, are they drop-in programs, or are those just for like patients? I'm trying to think of like those that the clients from the shelter would be able to access the day programs that are at the hospital.
Yeah, I probably can't speak to that directly, but we can get that information and bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yep, sure.
Thanks again. So it's been commented that the Park Street shelter in Charlottetown is operated by the provincial government, is my understanding, and that a non-government organization is supporting or providing services, is the operator of the Charlottetown Outreach Center. I think that it's widely accepted that the Charlottetown Outreach Center has more significant, more voluminous, more impactful challenges surrounding it than the Park Street Center. That's what I've heard tonight. And so I just, when I hear that a non-government organization would be supporting this particular proposal, it gives me some pretty big cause for concern, because it seems that this has not been run well in the Charlottetown situation. And even with that in mind, it's my understanding that there was an attempted murder by arson at the Park Street Center within the last 2 months. So if that gives you some scale of magnitude of the impact that the better of the options is running, I think that the province has failed in its duty to provide an appropriate plan that would allow you to properly assess how this land is used. And I would suggest that the province come back with a more detailed plan to help make sure that people are feeling safe and know that they will be safe. Thank you.
And obviously, not to get into certain subjects, but I think the reference you made, I think, was with the Outreach Center, not Park Street, that event. Oh, well, there was, okay. We certainly hear a lot about the Outreach Center, and I hope, you know, that there wasn't an unfair comparison made between that and this type of operation, because I know they're certainly different facilities altogether. So, and I know there was a event at the Outreach Center as well, so that's why so is there anything else from anyone? Otherwise, we'll just sort of, I'll outline the process again, and we'll move on from there. Again, this is the first of 3 meetings, so this report will be compiled, and we'll meet again on January the 9th. We'll hear the information come back for the report, and then council will make a final decision on that third Monday in January. So, with that, I guess I will hand it back over to Mayor Dame.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Council, and all members of the public who provided comments with respect to 25 Millis Drive, the restricted use application. We'll now move on to item 6B, which is resolution COS 23-169, Summerside Incorporation date. This is Councillor McColman. Councillor?
I'll just give a little preface or preamble on this resolution. There was a very lengthy discussion that did take place by council, with a lot of archive historical information provided through Culture Summerside. And so we have reached to bring a resolution to council this evening. It was moved by myself, Councillor Norma McColman, seconded by Councillor Nick Cameron. Be it resolved that City Council recognize the year of incorporation of Summerside as 1877 and request that staff amend the welcome sign entering historic downtown Summerside to reflect the year of incorporation as 1877.
Thank you, Councillor McColman. Just catching up to my page. And Councillor, that was moved by and seconded by? You moved? Okay. Great, thank you. With respect to resolution COS 23-169, moved by Councillor McColman, seconded by Councillor Cameron. The resolution is on the floor. Any comments, questions from council? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor McColman. At this point, we'll move into department reports. And first, we have Finance, Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a report here by our Director. Good evening, my colleagues, City Council, and to the residents and the business of the City of Summerside. The report tonight starts with the status of our utility accounts at December 12, 2023. The total overdue balance is $191,400 compared to $167,900 on November 14th of last month. And approximately 17,000 of the overdue balance is greater than 60 days past due. This compares to 22,600 in November. Customers who have an outstanding balance and have not requested a payment arrangement are strongly encouraged to do so. Our collection process continues with overdue notices being generated and mailed to customers. We encourage customers to sign up on the customer portal for a billing program if they wish, and they can be city can be contacted at 902-432-1230. We're in the process of reviewing our year-to-date results and preparing a projection to March 31st, 2024. As of November 30th, 2023, we're reporting a small consolidated surplus of $50,600 compared to a budgeted surplus of $5,300. We expect to present our projection with the December results, and this will be more indicative of what our operating results will be for this fiscal year. City departments are preparing their capital and operating budgets for 2024-25. These budgets will be reviewed by administration, and a draft budget will be presented to council in early February. Deadline to provide feedback on the upcoming budget has been extended to 12 p.m. on Monday, January 15th, 2024. We expect to present this budget to residents in early March 2024. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. If there's any questions? No? I just have a couple of comments. I just like to take the opportunity to wish you, Your Worship, and your family very Merry Christmas, as well as my fellow councillors and their families, and the residents of our beautiful city, and especially in Ward 1. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll move on to item B, which is Community Services and Tourism Update. Representative Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to thank Director JP for this report. It was another steady month for the box office and meetings and conventions at Credit Union Place. The World Under-17 Hockey Challenge took place from November 2nd to the 11th with great turnouts for crowds, the biggest crowd being the Canada White versus USA with approximately 3,178 people in attendance. The total tournament draw was 44,218 spectators between Credit Union Place and Eastlink Center. The Caps games also continue to sell during the month. Christmas parties started to take place in convention rooms along with regular room bookings. It was also a busy month for aquatics. The Dolphin Swim Club hosted their swim meet with many participants. Aquafit classes continue to be popular with lots of participants throughout the month, and the Masters and Dolphin swim teams continued practices during November as well. The Dome was busy in November with the CCAA Women's Soccer Nationals taking place at the Eric Johnson Turf Field from November 8th to the 11th. It was an 8-team tournament hosted by the Holland College women's soccer team that brought teams along with family and friends from all over Canada to Summerside. A 2-day union convention took place inside the Dome with many participants. Active Living remained busy with PD Day, camps, and preparing the program at the Yuletide Village. The community service team is busy gearing up for the winter months ahead. Dedicated staff members are working tirelessly to bring lineup of to bring a lineup of new and thrilling events that have just been announced and are now available for purchase. And I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder here, and I don't know 100% whose department did all the work out at the Memorial Square, but for anybody that's seen it, or if you missed it, it was amazing, continues to be amazing, and makes for a nice evening. And it's pretty neat to drive through town and come across that horse-drawn carriage full of happy kids and people sitting in it. So it's been a great couple of weeks, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. I'll move on to Councillor Cameron, representative for Governance, HR, and Legal Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ashley has made a presentation to URSA regarding the City of Summerside as an employer and how to apply for positions. We have had 9 part-time staff have been hired in multiple different sections throughout the city. The United Way fundraising campaign has commenced, with all staff having the opportunity to contribute directly through payroll deductions. We also had Junior Mayor and Council tour held on November 23rd. They have visited basically everywhere: Public Works, Culture, Police, Fire, Cup, Dome, Wastewater Treatment Plant, and the Wind Farm. And as part of the holiday season festivities for staff, gingerbread house kits were provided to all departments for decorating. Stay tuned to see which department wins the challenge, because everyone knows I love a good holiday theme. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Move on now to Representative Gallant for Municipal Services. Councillor?
Public Works, Water, Sewer, Utility highlights. Public are fully transitioning to snow and salt seasoning this month. Regular salt and snow removal process are now in focus of the departments. It is a reminder to the public that the overnight snow parking ban is now in effect for snow and salting operations. In the in-between seasons, time to fall, Public Works continues to repair street signs and repair roads for potholes. January 15th, 2024 is the expected operation and completion date for the installation of the second water treatment plant infrastructure. The project will allow the production of the solar to be faster than the population it increases of the loading plant. The Sunbank project delivery in its first solar energy into the power grid on December 1st, 2023, and will be wrapped up to 100% capacity by the end of December. Once completion online, the renewable energy flowing into the Somerset electrical power grid will be 62%. The electrical utility has completed its effort to strengthen the electric system for the coming winter months needed for the community. The electric demand has increased by over 20% for 1 year, with energy consumption increasing by over 12%. This large growth of electrical use as customers transition from fossil fuel will require large investment in the infrastructure to keep up the needs with the community. And Rick, you're welcome. It was Municipal Works that did all the work over the park.
Looks good.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McColman, representative for Arts, Culture, and Diversity. Councillor?
Worship. I'd like to thank Director Laurie Ellis for the preparation of this public report, and good evening to all of my councillor colleagues and Mayor Kuchar, CAO, and Director Kendra. Don't want to forget anybody. The following report captures some highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from mid-November to mid-December period. Celebrate the Season event December the 9th. Tasty international food samples, apple cider, eggnog, roving carolers, and a Christmas tree exhibit were a part of the Celebrate the Season event on December 9th. The event drew many participants, and our mayor and family were there, and it was the catalyst for the building of new relationships in our community. We have received many positive remarks from event goers. Various Summerside businesses and citizens partnered to offer a wide selection of food from more than 15 different countries. This event was presented by Culture Summerside and URSA. The Magic of Christmas, the Christmas Trees Through the Ages exhibit at Culture Summerside celebrates the holiday season with the magic of Christmas. The Christmas tree is one of the central traditions of Christmas, with a story that dates back centuries. For the magic of Christmas, the main floor of historic Lafergie Cultural Center has been transformed into an exhibit of over 45 Christmas trees decorated according to the trends, traditions, and happenings of various time periods. Each of the 45 plus trees has its own story. The exhibit opened on December 4th, and in the first week we have had 803 visitors, which includes individuals, school groups, and the December 9th Celebrate Season event as well. I'd like to just take an opportunity to thank Culture Summerside staff and volunteers for their coordination of these seasonal community events, which certainly tied in well with the Yuletide Village. Many people out during that whole month, or during December. As well, I'd like to take this opportunity to extend personal wishes of Merry Christmas to all residents and businesses, and sincere best wishes for the new year, as well to Mayor Kuchar, my councillor colleagues, CIO, Gordon, directors, and all city staff, and all the best in 2024. I know we'll be back before then, but anyway, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor McColman. I will now move on to Technical Services Representative, Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you as well to Director Aaron McDonald for the preparation of the report for the month. The 2023 construction season is coming to an end. Staff have been busy this month preparing budget items for the upcoming budget process. 18 building permits with a value of just over $17.1 million were issued for the month of November, for a year-to-date total of 197 permits and a value of $107.4 million. That's the new record, I believe, for highest, yeah. We issued 4 commercial permits, 1 new build, 1 addition and alteration, 1 renovation, and 1 change of use, 2 industrial permits for addition and alteration. On the residential side, we issued permits for 4 semi-detached, 1 single-family house, 3 accessory buildings, additions or alterations, and 1 mini home placement. We also issued partial permits for various stages of 2 apartment buildings, a 60-unit and a 29-unit. And as mentioned, we surpassed the $100 million mark as of the end of November, with the majority of this being for apartment buildings, which represents approximately $70 million of that number, for a total of 385 units in these apartment buildings for this year. So, developers are stopping in and speaking to staff for assistance with their proposed projects, and now is also a great time for our citizens to ask for assistance with their projects that they may still have planned for the remainder of 2023, as well as taking the time to plan ahead for 2024. So that's the report for this month, and whatever you celebrate this season, happy that thing. So happy everything. Inclusive.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Next up, Deputy Mayor Snow, Representative for Economic Development and Growth.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following is a brief update from the Office of Economic Development. The month has been busy finalizing some files, courting new developers, and working through some labor expansion and new business opportunities. The office is continuing to spearhead the work with Grant Thornton on our green hydrogen proposal. Our hope is to develop PEI's first green hydrogen production facility, enabling the use of clean fuel in key sectors in Summerside, including our utility, heavy transport, marine, and agriculture. Our clean tech strategy is completed and will be released in early 2024. The study uncovered a number of Summerside strengths and target companies that align with our ambitions of becoming PEI's first net zero community. This month has seen our office meeting with several developers specializing in construction, along with residential building, and helping them understand the opportunities that exist within Summerside and working towards collaborating on dealing with our sectorial built environment gaps. We continue to work with our local business base on their labor gaps and needs. Our program is set to go and will formally be launching within the first weeks of January. This is the monthly report from the Economic Development Office.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snow. Councillor Adams, representative for Emergency Services and Communications.
Thank you, Worship. We'll start with Summerside Police Services. Police Service held their annual Cops for Christmas in conjunction with the Salvation Army. It was a resounding success, as always, and they received the most gifts ever. We'd like to thank everyone for all the donations. Also like to thank Doug Dexter, president of Summerside Area Minor Hockey Association, for supporting the team challenge. A number of teams were challenged to bring in toys, and Doug made a donation of his own for every team that were involved in the challenge. We were involved with, the police were involved with the Take Your Kid to Work Day. 3 students were provided the opportunity to experience the world of policing, which included a tour of the ident lab. A staff member attended the John Howard Society conference at the Cup. A number of organizations convened to discuss the homeless situation and other social concerns. Chief Walker just wanted to take the opportunity to congratulate Sergeant Dale Korish on receiving the Crime Stoppers Municipal Police Officer of the Year during a ceremony held in Charlottetown. And just to mention also at that, I'm not sure of the exact name of it, but also one of our residents, Travis Gallant, he's with the RCMP, and he received the RCMP award at that same event. So. The chief and deputy attended the PI Chiefs of Police semi-annual meeting at the Atlantic Police Academy. A number of important topics were discussed. There's a presentation by RCMP British Columbia on decriminalization of some Schedule I drugs in their province. Management attended the provincial police review meeting that was on modernizing policing standards and PEI. All police agencies on PEI are a part of this review. Junior Mayor and Council attended SPS and were enlightened on the operations of a police service. Corporal Grant McLeod, he's the forensic ident officer, did a presentation on the work being done in the forensic ident lab, and this was a hit as usual with the group. And I think a shout out to Grant and the lab, because I think they're well used also by our RCMP. So. 2 female members attended the annual Women in Policing conference in Halifax. This was an educational conference with a number of excellent presenters. And Chief Walker attended a Christmas reception at Government House at the request of the Honourable Antoinette Perry. And SPS would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hopefully it's a quiet one for them. And I'll go on to fire services if there's no questions. November fire report for the month of November, 33 calls were dispatched. 5 of those were medical first responder calls, which we are seeing is more and more of a drain on our resources and our volunteer firefighters. Firefighters responded to 391 calls for 2023. This is an increase of 10% from 351 calls in 2022. As much as possible, training will be moving indoors for the next number of months. In November, training was a combined 604 hours on electrical safety, mapping city hydrants, hose and pump training, and fire attack hose work. Just a couple notes, the annual Santa Claus Parade was held on a beautiful December evening, and by the faces we watched, it was deemed to be a success. Upwards of 90 organizations took part and did a fantastic job of lighting it up for all to see. Entry fees from the parade totaled $9,000, and this was presented to the Kinsmen, the Salvation Army, the St. Elmo's Lions Club, to help with making Christmas a more special time for those residents needing it most. Summerside firefighters would like to thank Mayor and Council for their continuing support throughout the year and wish everyone a very happy holiday. And there's no questions, just for myself and my family, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. So we were saying the other day, this is the first time in 9 years we've been home for Christmas. So it's quite an adjustment, not planning to go anywhere, but with grandbabies now, it's pretty exciting around. So they definitely liven it up and make it worth getting all those decorations out and everything. So all the best to everybody, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. So with that, I'll just take one moment because this is our last official meeting for the year. It has been quite a year, Council, in terms of the challenges and the challenges we face together and the opportunities I think we have found for our community. We certainly don't live in an ideal world, but we live in a very real world with very real issues that come before us almost on a daily basis. And there really is no other role like a councillor or mayor where residents do come before us and speak directly. Whether it's provincial or federal levels, it's other members, other politicians speaking across an aisle, or when they're in a constituency office. And this is certainly unique, and it can be challenging, but it can also be really rewarding. Thanks to all of you for your continued hard work to make a difference here in our community, and thanks to all of the staff at the City of Summerside who support us and support our city, and who make a real difference in the lives of the people we share this amazing city with. So with that, we got a lot done. Let's keep it going. This is, as many of you hopefully know me by now, that when things start moving quickly, my approach is to put my foot down even further and move even faster. And there are certainly lots to do. So Merry Christmas to all of you, to all of your families. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of our residents. And I wish you all a Happy New Year, and I look forward to next year. With that, we will adjourn our meeting.